Hi again, and welcome back to the second video of scheduling with the 1 kilo day and 1 kilo night template. In this video, I've already put in the names of the people who have submitted availability to me here on the left-hand side, and I've put an appropriate X based on the days that they've made themselves available and the nights that they made themselves available. In the last video, I spoke about the options in here that you could put X, L, or E. So primarily the late availability is designed for those people who put in late availability after the 15th of the month or after you submitted the schedule to scheduling or timekeeping. Now, if they want to submit more availability, for example, let's say Jacob here on the 26th of the month prior to the schedule starting wanted to submit some late availability for the 15th, we could put the L in here. Now the reason we don't put an X in there is because anytime you put an X in, it affects all the calculations. Late availability should not affect the calculations, but should just indicate where they are available. So somebody might be putting in late availability partway through a month because all of a sudden they realize that they'd like to pick up some more shifts. And if there are shifts that become available and they've submitted late availability, you'll now know about it and you'll be able to provide that opportunity to them. Somebody who is on education leave, according to the contract, is entitled to submit those days that they are on education or being trained as availability days in order to maintain their seniority. So it's possible you might get somebody who's off for a couple months taking some courses that have been approved by the employer. And if so, if they submit days of education leave, then you can put those in there. And now what that does is when it's forwarded to timekeeping and to human resources, it prevents the person from losing seniority in those months. Putting the E in here doesn't affect the allotments or the calculations in any way, the same as the L. It doesn't affect the calculations either. The only thing that will affect calculations is the X itself. So let me just take that out of there. So we can see here that all these availabilities have already been submitted by me, saved a bit of time, and all the day shift availability totals are here, the nights are here, and then the total for both days and nights. If we look at the way that I put these people in, I put them in from the most available down to the least available. So I've sorted them. And you can use whatever method you want for sorting. I sort them in my file manager. I let the computer sort them, but you may want to just sort them on your desk before you enter them on the computer. If you want to sort them, if you want to enter them into the worksheet here from least to most available, that's your choice. I find that putting them in from most to least available is the best for scheduling purposes for me, for my method. The entitlements here, so let's take a look here. Jacob Jensen has put in 31 days, 27 nights for a total of 58 shifts. He's entitled to 8 days, 7 nights for a grand total of 15 shifts altogether. So if I am able to give him 100% of his entitlement, he'll be getting 15 shifts, and that will appear right here under the grand total. So as I start giving him shifts, as I start putting in shifts that I give him, here's a kilo one day. It appears. It shows that it has given him 1 kilo one day. He's already at 13% of his allotment and 7% of his total kilo allotment. Once I start assigning other shifts to other people, they start getting numbers in there as well, depending on how you do the scheduling. As we know, the WAG speaks to the concept that scheduling needs to be fair and equitable, and in order to do so, those people who put in the most availability are entitled to the most amount of shifts, within reason. The WAG doesn't really specify how many more shifts the person's entitled to, but what we're trying to do with these allotments here is roughly bring the percentages the same or as close as possible, so everybody has roughly the same percentage of breakdown based on their availability of shifts that they've been allotted and scheduled. However, if anybody is going to lose out on the shifts, it'll be the ones who have the least amount of availability at the bottom as opposed to the ones at the top. So again, those people who put in the most availability are entitled to the most amount of shifts. It may only be by 1 or 2 shifts, but If there's extras, then they will get those shifts. Conversely, if there are not enough people in your station, or too many people I should say in your station, and some shifts have to be taken away, then it's the people who have the least availability who will lose out. So, taking a look at how we schedule, as I mentioned, so we'll basically just be putting shifts in. I might start off with the fact this person is entitled to 8 day shifts, and so I will go across here and start giving him shifts. So all of this I'm going to take a look in the next video, and we're going to see that every time we put a shift in there, if we click over to printable schedule, it automatically enters the name in here. One more thing to mention about the availability sheet here, I would like to be able to see the bottom. The bottom here reflects the schedule itself, and I'll tell you why it's so important to see the bottom. In order to see the bottom, first let's go here. I'm going to put my mouse over the little number here where it turns into a right arrow. I'm going to left click on the mouse. I'm going to hold it and drag it up, and this allows me to select multiple rows, and I'm going to select all the rows that I'm not using right now. I'm going to release. While my cursor is right here, I'm going to right click, click on hide, and all those empty rows have been hidden. Now I can see this bottom portion here, and what that allows me to do is, as I start scheduling, let me actually get them shifts here, and I'm not doing it in any particular order, just a demonstration for what the program can do. So I've given 2 people a K1 day shift. I've given 2 people now a Kilo 1 night shift. You can see that this turns green once there's 2 people in that shift. Tells you that you've covered the Kilo 1 shift for Friday the 5th. Kilo 1 night is filled. If you have a CP in your station, I would suggest that you, let's say Trishan here is our CP. I can put the CP indicator here, but he doesn't have to put in availability for a community paramedic because he's already assigned a schedule. So if he did put in regular availability, such as over here, and it conflicts with the CP schedule, well, there shouldn't be availability in there. So that's one thing the CPs already know. So I'm just putting in his CP schedule here as a friendly reminder to him and to anybody else that these are the days that he's a community paramedic. So let's go over to the printable schedule, and we can see this particular day is filled in with the Kilo day shifts and the Kilo night shifts, and Trishan's put in here as a community paramedic. So that's it for this portion. In the next video, we're going to look into actually finishing the schedule and what it looks like.